Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about 7 mistakes or missteps that people make when they make a move abroad. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Patricia Brooks and I am an American living in the south of France. And I help people who are ready to start the next chapters of their lives living and thriving in a foreign country. Create a plan and work through any fear or self-doubt that they might have so that they can finally start living their dream. And on this channel, I share content about my life in France, about making a move abroad, and how to dig down deep and move through whatever holds you back from experiencing the life that you know you deserve so that you can actually live it. And today I'm going to be talking about 7 mistakes that people make when they make a move abroad. This is a ride-along video, and I'm going to be sharing some footage of a recent trip, so enjoy the view. The first mistake that I see people make when they make a move abroad is that they don't take learning the language of their new country seriously, or they think that it'll be easier when they are here to start learning the language, when they're immersed in the language. And I'm here to tell you that language learning takes time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of hours to acquire a new language. And so starting before you move can help you feel a little bit more confident when you're here. And it can give you a leg up as you continue to learn the language here. So that is the first mistake or misstep that I see. And it's not uncommon for me to run into people that who have moved here even around the same time that I did 7 years ago. And for me to have a conversation with them in French, because I'm with somebody who only speaks French, and I can see how much they're struggling to just communicate the basics. And I can only imagine how challenging that is when you're trying to navigate administrative matters, when you're just, you're around people who don't speak your language, and how stressful that can be. So take language learning seriously. And if you struggle, if you have a block where you don't believe that you can actually learn a new language, maybe you're a little bit older and you think, older people struggle to learn new languages, then maybe it's time to hire a language coach, somebody to help you to move through those blocks so that then you can focus and acquire the language that you need so that you can experience life in your new country the way you want to. Mistake number 2 is inadequate research and financial due diligence. When you move to another country, different tax laws might apply. And for example, if you have a house and you're not sure if you just want to rent it out or sell it, and you decide, I think I'm just going to rent for the first year. And if I decide I want to sell later, then I'll just do that. If you are moving to France, that could cost you dearly, because even if you are not a citizen, but you are a French tax resident, they may be in your pocket for capital gains taxes. So be sure to do your financial due diligence, consult somebody who knows the laws and the tax laws, financial investment laws, so that you don't have any surprises when you move here or whatever country you are moving to. Another example is, and this didn't really affect me until later on, was that my financial planner, he was able to be my financial planner without a problem for my first 3 years here in France. But then he contacted me and said, I needed to have somebody who was actually living in the United States be the person who would okay any trades that I might need made. Now I'm a grown adult in my 50s, and to not be able to just say, yes, go ahead and make those changes so that I'm not going to lose my shirt, didn't feel good. And so I did that for maybe a year, but then I found somebody who works with expats and doesn't have a problem working with expats and understands the differences that I might need in my portfolio because of my situation. So be sure to make sure you're doing your due diligence when it comes to finances. Now, mistake number 3 has to do with picking a location to live. Now, I had a call maybe a year ago with someone who had already made the move to France and had selected a town that was a village. It was a small village, probably 600 people. And she bought an apartment and was miserable there because it was very, very close off to her. She felt isolated. And she'd reached out to me to see if I could help her, figure out some things. And it was a shame because she had spent what she had to spend on a house, on this place she bought in this location that didn't suit her. And I hope that she has got that all sorted, that she has found a place, that she was able to sell the place that she bought, because that was an issue. She had it on the market, but it wasn't moving. And in order for her to move someplace else, she'd have to sell that property and then buy some or rent someplace else. And so I think this is a mistake that is layered, right? It's buying a place without really knowing the place or how it's going to work for you. And then number 2 is not considering the dynamics of that location. For this one, I also want to caveat that you might find that you know exactly where you want to live. Take Surrey, for example. It's a lovely place. However, if you want a peaceful village, you may not want to be living in the center of town here, because in the spring and summer months, I'm going to tell you, it is quite lively with its festivals and parties. And so if you're living on a square that, is a parking lot other times, but they ban parking during the festivals, and there's a speaker underneath your window, and you purchase or even rent, because if you rent for a year, that's a year that you're going to have to deal with that. You might not be so happy. Okay. So consider those things and ask those questions. If you're looking to buy, you're looking to rent, is there a parking lot that turns into a square that might have a party in it? Consider that, ask those questions, get as much information about that as possible, because it would be a shame to get someplace that suits you, but then have that as an issue. Mistake number 4 is avoiding getting started. Now, if you've been thinking about moving abroad for 2 years and now you're 6 months out from making the move and you haven't started clearing the clutter, downsizing your house that you've had for 20 years, where things have accumulated, it's going to be stressful. If you have not done some things like maybe there's some documents that you don't have that you need to request that might take some time, and your visa appointment's coming up, that's going to be stressful. And maybe you've avoided because you really weren't sure what your next steps needed to be. And that can cause your move abroad to not go as smoothly as it could have. And so here, what I recommend is, especially if you are not clear on what the first step is you need to take or what the next step is that you need to take, is to have a conversation with somebody like me. I offer what I call my exit strategy program. It's 2 50-minute sessions where after you answer an intake form about your move abroad, I put together a project plan on what your next steps should be and the timing of it based on your tentative move date. And then we meet and we talk through what those steps are and if your move date is realistic, and we get you going. We get you on track so that you can get to your dream country sooner and with more ease. So if that sounds like something that could help you get started or unstuck or in motion, help you to ground your move date, then go to thecouragecatalyst.com/exit plan and book your session today. Those are the first 4 of 7 mistakes that people make when making a move abroad. Which one do you think has the most damaging impact? Let me know in the comments. Number 5 is overlooking residency rights and obligations. Now, if you are a resident of France for, I think it's more than 6 months of the year, don't quote me on that, then you are considered a French tax resident, and you will need to submit a French tax declaration, whether or not you owe France any taxes or not. That is a requirement. And this is important because if you are living in France and you want to go for French citizenship, you want to make sure that all your I's are dotted and all your T's are crossed. And this could be one thing that could trip you up if you aren't aware of that. So knowing what your obligations are, filing a tax declaration here in France as a tax resident, that is an obligation, but also knowing your rights. This was something that I was not aware of. I was in France for, I guess, 2.5 years before I applied for my carte vitale. That's the French health insurance plan. And I didn't apply because I'm an American. And to me, my mindset was health insurance is not a right. And certainly it's not a right in a country where I am not a citizen. And I learned when I was dating a boyfriend, he said, oh no, if you're living here legally, you have the right to get this carte vitale. And so he helped me through the process. And I'm so glad that he did. It wasn't a huge mistake because health care here is pretty affordable. When I would go to see my general care practitioner, I would just pay the $29. When I would need blood work, I would just pay the $50 or $55 out of pocket. My prescriptions were quite affordable too, so it wasn't like it was a big cost to me. But had I done this sooner, then I would not have had to come out of pocket for even that minimal amount. So know your rights and know your obligations as a resident of the country that you're moving to. And another thing here is in France, it's highly recommended that when you move into a city or town that you go to the mairie and you introduce yourself and you tell them that you have moved in. That's not something I did. I don't know, what I missed out on not doing that, but it's customary here and it might ease your way as you start to build a network and a community in your new country. Mistake number 6 is overpaying for rentals or getting caught up in some sort of problem when you are renting a place. Now, this is something that I fell prey to. When I moved, I got a year lease from, was an Airbnb sort of situation, vacation rental by owner to be exact. And it was a charming 2-bedroom apartment with a nice little view. And the problem was when I got there, it had a horrible smell of sewer gas that you couldn't tell online. And so here I'd signed this year-long lease agreement. And I felt very panicky because here I was in this new country. This is my first week. I'm overwhelmed with everything. And learned that I would be able to get out of my lease if I went to a doctor and got a medical certificate. And so that's what I did, but I still needed to find a place to live. And so I found a place that was just right around the corner from the apartment that I was in. So it was the same neighborhood. Didn't have the same view, but it was upgraded. It was more modern than the apartment I had rented. And they were asking much, much, much more for it than the apartment I was in. And I was panicky. I felt anxious. And I felt under pressure. And so I signed a year lease for that. And it was more than I had anticipated to pay. And I didn't realize that I was overpaying because I thought, it's been updated. So maybe this is what apartments in Perpignan go for. Well, when I went to get my bank account, the banker looked at me like, what? You're paying this? And that's when I knew I'd been taken. All right. So don't overpay. I think that another thing that people may fall prey to if they are looking for a place to rent and it's in a really tight market and it's not a vacation rental by owner situation, that landlords might ask you to pay a year in advance. And that is illegal here in France. So don't fall prey to your anxiety like I did or to schemes like that. All right, so that's mistake number 6. And the final mistake that I want to highlight in this video is that when people make a move abroad, before they make a move abroad, they don't make a plan for staying connected with people where they're leaving. And that can fall by the wayside when they are out of sight, out of mind, right? Their life goes on. It's pretty normal. You're not there, but they still have their set of friends, and then you're isolated and on your own. So it's a good idea to have the conversations with family and friends that you do want to stay connected with. What are we going to do? How are we going to stay connected? How often are we going to Zoom or FaceTime? What does that look like? How can we continue to keep our relationship strong? I think that is vital. And along the lines of that is when you move to a new place and maybe you're a little bit older, like I was, it can be really challenging to make new friends. And I knew as an introvert that I was going to have to put myself out there. So that was something that I knew that I was just going to have to put myself in uncomfortable situations. But if you know that about yourself, and, maybe you've had the same friend circle for years and haven't had to go out and meet new people, you might want to start to build that muscle by going to meetups and getting back into that swing of things so that in an environment that is not out of your element, so that when you are in a strange environment where everything is new and daunting, that it feels a little bit easier to do that and step out of your comfort zone and start to build friendships, build your network and community here. Now, if this is something that you feel like you might find challenging, making friends, and not feeling like an outsider in your new country, then I have a course that I did. It's a 1 video course where I talk about how to stop being an outsider. And it is filled with these tips that will help you think about making friends and building new community in a different way. It will help you, it'll give you the structure to do that. And so if you're interested in that, you can find that at thecouragecatalyst.com/friends. And you can sign up for that self-paced course. As I said, it's a 1-lesson course that will help you feel more confident as you start to build community in your new place. All right. So those are 7 mistakes that people make when they make a move abroad. Now that you know them, you can avoid them. You can plan for them. If you're interested in working with me on that exit plan strategy, be sure to go to thecouragecatalyst.com/exit plan. And I look forward to seeing you there. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with friends. If you're not yet subscribed, be sure to do so. And I will see you again next time. Bye for now.